But the office space that I had was narrow, really dark. I had a window, but I couldn't really see anything out of it. I didn't get much light. And I really need to have access to 60 different projects at any given time as my team calls me, as my clients call me. And so this tiny office space, really, I outgrew it very quickly working from it full time. And so what you're kind of seeing in the background here is my kitchen, my kitchen space, which doesn't necessarily work as much for kind of being quiet. There's a lot of chaos going on. I seem to work very well in chaos. So that part works for me personally. If you guys needed a little bit more of a quiet space, you might want to be tucked away. You'd probably be in my dining room where I actually have doors. But I moved into this space because I have a large oval marble kitchen table. I have this huge, beautiful window that overlooks my backyard and my garden, where you can see I'm getting a lot of natural light from my Zoom calls. I have a ton of lighting options in this space. So, I've got a light above me. I've got kind of the can lights. I have this massive window, so I can kind of adjust lighting as we go. And then I've got kind of shelf space, and here's where I've kind of store things that I can just grab at. Printer is here. So sort of at the end of the day, as my day technically kind of closes, which probably much like a lot of you, I'm on call 23 hours a day, but I do kind of try and clean things up a bit, and kind of it gives me an opportunity to organize at the end of each day because I kind of have to. So that's kind of the current work environment.
Do you find the sort of the separate space as well? Because I think one of the things that personally I find is that once you're at the end of the day, especially when a lot of people are like on furloughed or working from home, we haven't got that office where you can't just leave at the end of the day, and then that sort of separates the end of the day from your home life.
Yeah.
Like how have you, I guess, sort of navigated that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting the time that we're in now, and I think it's what's creating a bit of a mental crisis, is that we don't really have a start and a stop at the end of our day. And so, and the weekends kind of bleed in, and I find myself emailing on a Saturday afternoon at 2:00, my team, and then I'm thinking, wait, I have to stop and take that back. It's Saturday at 2:00, and try and do those little things that help create more of a schedule for me and my team. Because they're so amazing and so responsive that if I do text at 2:00 on a Saturday or 8:00 on a Tuesday evening, they're responding. So I'm trying to be really cognizant, and you kind of have to find a routine in an environment where it's hard to get a routine. So yes, kind of at the end of the day, it forces me to kind of organize everything every day. Whereas when I was in the other office, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I could leave everything as is, and I come in the next morning, I'm like, wait, where did I leave off? So this really forced me to file everything, to have my little piles, and have everything somewhat or about as organized as possible. But yeah, it's kind of helping with a routine for sure.
How's your home life in regards, like, what's the setup and the situation there?
So like I said, I have 2 little boys that are 10 and 11. So when everything kind of came to a halt, we started homeschooling immediately. And I will just start by telling all of you, I am not equipped to be a teacher. It was a very stressful situation for all of us. I have one that is dyslexic, so he needs to kind of very, very bright, but needs to kind of have somebody holding his hand, and we didn't have any help. And so the 3 of us, I think there was a couple of days all 3 of us may have cried, like just kind of trying to make sure we were setting a new schedule and everything was uprooted. So we kind of have a good routine now. I have one I've actually brought some help in for a couple of hours a day, and we kind of have a little bit more of a set schedule. So that's helped. It's just, it is a bit more chaotic. The boys can't go to camp. So working in and around being the 3-meal chef and being the house cleaner and being everything while trying to run 3 companies has been definitely an adjustment, which I'm sure a lot of people on here can relate to.
So for the people on the call, of course, you know, and I think that you're obviously a designer, you've got fab sort of space there. How can everyone on this call make the most of theirs? Like, what's the top tips? You know, that.
Sure. So I kind of thought about this last night as I was looking over what we were going to talk about today. And so I mentioned that we have a design firm, and then we also have a branding component to the firm called Brand Bottega, which is, you know, collateral, websites, social media, menu design, uniforms. So it really goes hand in hand with our design work. And we have a team in New York that is currently transitioning to LA. And so, but then the third company, which I think is really relevant to what we're talking about today, is called Lou Verne, and it's a curation and stylist team. And I think, you know, what I wanted to kind of focus on with everyone here today is obviously going out and sourcing and finding all the custom things that we as designers have access to is a little more difficult when you're designing your home. For me, even as well, I'm so busy with 60 projects every day that if you take a walk through my home, most of it was just off the shelf things that I could kind of grab and go. West Elm, Restoration Hardware, and then adding those personal touches. And so, you know, you'll find in my home, artwork is huge for me, and it doesn't have to be expensive. As a matter of fact, 98% of my artwork is not. And even through college, anywhere I traveled to, I made it a point to make my souvenir and invest in artwork. And I'll never forget being in Athens, Greece. I was getting my design degree at the time, and I went to a flea market, which of course is designer heaven. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna spend so much money on art. And I spent $130. I had 9 pieces that are absolutely incredible to this day. I can't believe but the $130 was such a big deal for me at the time. And I surround myself with layers. So that my home is layered with things that don't cost a lot of money. The artwork behind me is a collection of stamps that an artist collected when I was in Cuba. And then he kind of did a print over of the country. And so if you look around, my kitchen is cookbooks from the places I visited. So I love to collect cookbooks from, like this is La Huecha in Punta del Este, Uruguay. Things that are, you know, $20, $30, but every time I walk by them in my home, it makes me so happy. It's my happy place. And so other than that, I'm a big plant person. I've kind of come to the realization that I am not the biggest green thumb. So my investment may come every year with my plants. There are the ones that I least expect to make it are the ones that do. But I do think about it as, instead of buying flowers, I love to buy plants. And I love when they start to drape over on my shelves. I love when, so in my home and out in my yard, I love to collect plants, and those just fill your home. I think it warms everything up. And another inexpensive way to create decor is books. And anybody can afford a book. I love to go to the half price books when I'm styling a hotel or homes. And you can even go to booksbyfoot.com. You can get them by color. So if I want to order a foot of books with a white white bind, I can do that. So those are some of the different ways and then also all the antique shops, garage sales, estate sales. I love picking up and collecting pieces and platters that kind of, and if they don't have a story with me in history, I love to kind of think through what lives they've kind of had.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned as well about within your own space, and I think for me, so just for reference for everyone here, I have come into the office for This Is Beyond for the first time since lockdown. It's very empty. There's 2 of us, so we're socially distanced. But obviously, I've got a much cooler background than I have in my own home. I've got like a white wall and things like that. And I know you were saying about, it's very easy to sort of like look black and white or just choose a white wall because you're worried about the background and things like that. And then, why not have some color? What sort of tips? And I know that, I can share examples from your book here. What would you say to them?
So, when I was in my office, the wall was fairly close to where I was, and it's just a blank wall. And And so I had to think of different ways, because as a designer, my background is also reflective of my work and who I am. But ways, this is actually a Kelly Sirna wall covering. I love pattern. I love color. You can kind of see, I could have gone the safe route and done the black or the white cabinetry, and I went with the teal. And I decided this kitchen would kind of be different shades of green. So between all the plants, I don't know if there's a picture up of that now, Stephanie, but there's plants that are draping. The chairs were green. I didn't get around to the bench that's behind me, but this was kind of supposed to be a built-in. This is.
For those who want to have a look, if you can pin me as speaker view at the moment, just to sort of highlight, just so you can see it a little bit bigger. But yeah, Kelly, where should I scroll?
If you want to go up, so this is the room that I'm in now, and it's a little blown out. Like, it obviously you can see from behind me, it's not like so minty, crazy green, but I wanted the room to be comfortable and cozy. This is where the boys and I spend a lot of time. It's where we have a lot of guests. It's where my girlfriends will come over and sit and have a glass of wine. So wanted this room to be comfortable, and built the wine fridge several years ago. We've since definitely outgrown this little wine fridge. I've become a small, just slowly wine collector as I kind of get to visit the different places, Napa. And so this room is a collection of the things that kind of I walk by 20 times a day that make me really happy. And then I think you have up the construction site with me and the boys, building that space. But as I started to design this office at the new house, I actually moved it based on being home so much. The office that I have in my home was used very rarely previously, because I was on the road every single week when I don't have the boys. And then I'm at my office with my team. So spending so much time at home and in this office space now, I rethought my office. And if you kind of go down, the dining room in the new home, and you remember the old school dining rooms were in that small room off the kitchen. And I took that dining room and added, and Stephanie, if you go, it's the one with like the coral, it's up.
Up.
Yeah, up like 2 or 3.
Oh, sorry, getting a bit of a glitch on my computer.
And if you go on our Instagram, it's called Home, Kylie can help me with this, Home Sweet Top Hill, I think is the Instagram. And you can kind of see the progress. Kylie, do you know what it is? At Home Sweet Instagram?
Yes, it's home_sweet_ Top Hill.
So the cabinets in the office are being installed today. So I was over there early this morning, but we went with really bold colors. This coral is on my ceiling, this kind of fun pop of green. And now you're as I'm talking about it, I see where maybe my particular style comes in with a really decorative wall covering. If you don't have the money to commit to wall covering, because it can get really pricey, they have West Elm has a really cool peel-and stick. Etsy has a million, and they are absolutely beautiful. I would use them in hotels if I knew that they would last for, and take the wear and tear of a hotel. But I mean, peel and stick on a wall covering on a wall, and relocating a shelf or a piece of artwork. Those are all really inexpensive ways that you can kind of add to the backdrop. Hanging a plant from the ceiling that kind of drapes down. Plants are always great. Books stacked, very easy ways to create a really beautiful backdrop for your Zoom calls.
Yeah. And talk us through some of because obviously you've got a really eclectic mix, and you've done a lot of work in this sort of space. I mean, how would you,
Sure.
I mean, if you have someone's I guess if you were to be briefed by someone on a personal level saying I want you to transform my house, and
Sure.
wherever they are.
So when I purchased this house from 1970, the home that I'm in currently, I've been in for 10 years. So I kind of grew up in this house. My now 10-year-old was 4 days old when we moved in. So I really was in survival mood moving into this house. I didn't really get to take down walls, do the flooring I wanted, and really create a home that was reflective of my style. And so that's what I was really excited about in renovating this new house. And of course, I was still in survival mode somehow, and still a little crazy, on the road every week. But when I started designing this house, I wanted it to be a place that you are finding gems in every room, and you know, things like the wall covering. I don't know if that's still up, Stephanie. It's really fun. It's got koalas and what are they? Or is it pandas? I think it's trash pandas. A friend of mine designed this wall covering, so it's really, yes, you can see on the bottom right, the blue, and the pandas are like eating pizza, spilling, you know, ramen noodles. They have like kind of the to-go bag that you would get at a convenience store. So at a glance, when you walk in this little guest bath, you're like, huh, cute. And then as you look closer and there's a styrofoam cup hanging in the top left of the tree, it's one of those unexpected moments. And I love to create those in the spaces I design. So getting an opportunity, one, to have a wall covering. This is Aztec, A-S-T-E-K, by designer Andrew Alford, and he's amazing. If you look him up, he's an incredible designer. He's just completely out there. He builds rainbow sofas. So he really takes design to a whole new level. So it was really exciting getting to kind of incorporate my friend's wall covering. The top two were other options that we had, but the koala has a bong. So the trees are marijuana plants. So I had to kind of think through my 10 and 11-year-old and the message I wanted to give them over the next 10 years, and thought maybe the trash pandas would be a better option. But I did a really cool lava tile, a green lava tile as a backdrop. And I had to think through what my permanent pieces were going to be, the pieces that I wasn't going to move for the next 15 years. So the wall covering is something that in 10 years, if that's dated, that's a easy thing to replace or wall cover over. So I tend to really put my crazy, unexpected moments that are a little more trendy in my pillows and my artwork, and things that can be changed out. But my flooring, which you'll see, which is the black and white, I thought this is a little wild, but I can also live with it for 20 years. And then my timeless, you know, the timeless pieces are the things, the tile, the, you know, my beautiful, the wood floors that I invested a little bit more in because I wanted that crazy chevron that's so gorgeous. That's where I really prioritize my budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Say for people who, I'm just going to get this share quickly, but say, you know, for instance, are maybe full in lockdown, or they can't go out and obviously buy, you know, these sort of cool quick and sticks and things like that. Like what, like sort of fun objects? I'm just trying to think, like if I was on a work call or something with a client, almost like a talking point, what sort of things would you look out for people that are having their home?
And I promise I'm not trying to plug, but one really cool, our stylist team has an Instagram that I get so inspired by. They're absolutely incredible. And the intent for us to actually create art was not in what we were doing initially. We hired artists and stylists to bring art in. So typically what happens when we're designing a hotel is we go to the art manufacturer and we say, hey, we have a hotel in Savannah, Georgia. It's a Thompson hotel. It's this and this. And then they send us a PDF of 200 pieces of artwork. And I remember distinctly one day walking to my office after I just walked through a project in LA, and I'm flipping through this artwork that they'd sent, and I saw the same pieces that were already hanging in LA. And I thought, they've been hanging in this hotel for 3 years. We're gonna go in and now use the same piece on a new hotel. And artwork and accessories to me are the soul of your project, whether it be your home or hotel, it's the soul, it's what tells your story. And so our investment into Luverne was not one to be profitable or make money. It was really to elevate our projects. And most of the projects we were winning awards for are projects where Luverne has been prioritized. Our art and our accessories are really the soul of the hotel. So when I go in, if you go to the Luverne, I think it's like Curation by Luverne is the Instagram. We take $30 canvas artwork and cut up. You know, we did this for the W in Buckhead. Another time we took cassette tapes and we just eBayed like 1,200 cassette tapes, taped them on plywood on a corner in Midtown Atlanta, and then painted a mural over them. So if you take ordinary objects and can repurpose them, that is where it's really incredible. You don't even have to be like my art 1 and art 2 classes were painful. I'm not great at perspective. If you ask me to like draw a human, it's all morphed and terrible. But when you start looking at taking ordinary objects and gluing them together and putting them in a cloche, which you can find those at any antique store or eBay, which is kind of the little glass dome. We take a million different things, glue them in there and put a top on it. Yeah. Right down to spray paint tops, the little spray paint. We spray painted some walls and did a mural, and Josh saved in a bag all of the little spray paint pieces, glued them in and put them in a little dome, and you've got artwork. So taking those ordinary things and making them something interesting is always kind of cool.
We've got a question here from David Lee, and David, feel free to jump in and sort of unmute and jump in here as well. But he's asking if, as a Zoom background, is it better to be not too busy or add a few more?
No, so I personally, I'm more is more, and you can tell my background isn't crazy, but I do love to create a backdrop that's interesting. I'm on Zoom calls probably 4 or 5 a day. And and of course, being a designer, again, my background is reflective of my style and our brand. So I really do urge you to be creative and create something fun and interesting that's going to stand out. I wouldn't shy away from more is more.
It'd be interesting to know if anyone is in the audience as well, and you want to sort of either showcase your background, please don't be shy, or even ask Kellie directly, what we can do with your space. We want to make sure that this can be as interactive as possible, or as well, if you've got any sort of additional questions or any sort of random objects that you think would be inspirational for anyone else. Again, we want to make sure that everyone can sort of benefit from it. Kellie, a question for you also. So we had a message from Emily here about the raccoons and maple leaves. Well, it's not a question, a statement that the raccoons and maple leaves are very Canadian.
So what, I'm sorry?
The raccoons and maple leaves are very Canadian.
I wish they were maple leaves. I mean, he intentionally put pot leaves on there, but it's fine.
Yeah,
I would probably be telling my children they were maple leaves if they asked.
Tom, obviously you mentioned a little bit more about the lighting earlier, and obviously how it can be sort of situated, I guess, from a positioning standpoint. And this is one way, when you're trying to take pictures with your phone and you're trying to get the right lighting, how can people adjust that?
Sure. So, and even looking at your lighting, Stephanie, like it's great because there's nothing shining on you. My look is totally different today because I've got the window that's kind of creating a glow, and then I've got this, and I had to turn off the can lights because I already had so much light. Now in the afternoon, the lighting will look totally different in here. So having versatile lighting, putting kind of a lamp that has a dimmer on it so you can adjust throughout the day is a really easy way to kind of adjust your lighting and create a nice glow for your space, regardless of what time of day it is. And just a place, like, I love natural light. I just think, what do they call, the millennials, they call it the glowing out. What's that hour? It's like the 5 o'clock hour where it's the best time to take social media selfies. I can't remember, but kind of creating that glow at like 5 o'clock is kind of what you're looking for. So.
And I guess a little bit more to David's point earlier on. I mean, if you say you've got like different elements or different things that you want to put in, whether it's like you've got a busy background and you want to add things, then you want to add in plants and different things like that. How can you make it? There's these different elements that it doesn't feel cluttered. Like sort of any tips there, but it's just like, how would you position it around?
Sure. So, and you can kind of see, and I'll move this a little without turning my screen off here. And I've got some samples over here that are stacked up that weren't meant to see. But if you look like my wine, that's kind of, but just plants. And I position books. Let me see if over here is a little better too. I'll position books to where they're stacked in different ways. I've got picture frames. You can kind of see over here, the books to the right. And then up here, so just kind of some stacked this way, some going this way. I always think it's really cool. I've seen people, and we've done in hotels where, you go to books by the foot, and I could have picked a varying of green book, green bound books, which was really fun and really cool. And it's really inexpensive. It's a really inexpensive way to design. And, you can always get your hands on a lot of books. And then there's those little nicks and knacks. I really try to steer away from a lot of clutter. I had a client's office in Chicago that we did. I mean, we spent a small fortune on this beautiful bookshelf, and he wanted everything, every trophy, every award, everything from 1975 to date on this bookshelf. And I went through and just kind of breaking it up so there's not 20 trophies in a row. There's 3 trophies here with some books. There's 2 trophies down here with an accessory. There's 4 trophies over here with, and some of the things you can kind of hang on the back of your books, the bookshelf. So, a small pin. This artwork is hung by push pins because Kellie Sirna is not an inexpensive design decision. So I really wanted to be able to change out this artwork periodically. I tend to move things around quite a bit. So push pins are your best friend when your artwork isn't too heavy. And so even some of his awards that came on medals, we could kind of hang on the back. I love to create depth. So something pushed back a little bit and then, kind of creating some layers there too is really nice.
Yeah, I love that. And because when you were showing us around as well there, I mean, is there a way that, like you say, I think it's really cool that you can create that sort of slightly different imagery, and I think it mixes it up and just keeps you interesting. I mean, we're all looking at our faces all the time. And it's, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a different background. Most of the time I spend it in my uninspiring kitchen, on my kitchen table, which is why I've come into the office today. But again, I even like different angles. So obviously now we can see where we can see on you at the moment, but all that other space around, like, are you able to adjust it? Or even if people do have kids, like you say, and maybe they sort of come in and you have to rush out of different space, like how can people navigate?
So mine is positioned just a bit this way because I get the unexpected. Given that we were talking about how to host a successful Zoom call today, I have one in his bedroom in summer school. I have some help so that the other one is entertained for the hour. But if, they do come in and out, and we're all kind of quarantining together, these guys have nowhere to go. So really having to adjust to that. And I make sure that you can kind of see, and of course my head's a little cut off because I moved it, but I try and make sure you can see a little bit more than just my head. So framing things to where, you're getting a little bit more, and I'm not super close to the screen. I'm back. Well, you were fine. You're totally fine. But, and I just think a backdrop is great. I think these are moments, and I think this time, and one of the good things that's come out of it is we're all having to expose a little bit more of ourselves and be a little more vulnerable. I have, bajillion clients that are actually in my home now on calls with me. They're meeting my boys, they're meeting the German Shepherd, so I think it's really beautiful if you think about it. This is my very personal space that I typically wouldn't be sharing with clients, but you have to embrace it. And I hear clients' dogs, babies. I have one that now FaceTimes his daughter because I don't have little girls. And I had to send her like a little tiny mini pair of Dallas Cowboy cheerleader boots, like the little white cowboy boots. But this time has really created a unique opportunity for us to actually engage with people on a more soulful, personal level. And so I think embracing that and being in different areas of our home and really being vulnerable to being on the screen. I'm very tempted to do what everybody on this call is doing too, which is like, I'm in half PJs. I don't feel like putting makeup on today, so I'm just going to put a great picture. And some of you guys, Rachel, Lucia, David, like you guys have great, at least headshots on. So, even if, you're smiling and your backdrop's great there, all of you guys have some good backdrops in your headshots that you've posted on here. I think that's amazing. So I even see some of my team on here without headshots. And I think that's like, it's like, I'm going to send a note after this, like, hey, let's put a cool headshot on so people can see your faces.
I can see them in the background now, just like quickly updating there.
Yes. Ross, I see you.
Yeah, you made a really good point as well about obviously where it's like you look at it's revealing a little bit of yourself. And I guess I've got two questions out of that. So one, I was reading recently about we've gone from everyone who's in the office to, on the basis that the Ellie Collective here, we're very, very design led. The whole point of Ellie Miami is that we are leading the evolution of contemporary travel. A lot of that comes into design as well as a big factor. But also, as we do more of these calls, and like you say, from a sort of a business standpoint, if travel brands are meeting with the buyers within our collective, whether or not they're in their property or at home, they probably want to portray something a little bit elevated, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, like for instance, none of you can, if you saw my kitchen, you would think, who is this woman working for Ellie Miami? It's not that bad, but obviously I'm now portraying my office, and this is beyond as a backdrop for today on purpose. But yeah, I mean, is there anything that you would say, I guess in that respect, in regards for them to factor in, like if they were to do more business calls with people and from a sales perspective as well?
Sure. So a couple of things, because I think it's important. I mean, I'll even say my son on his Zoom call was like, this one kid in the class they even notice the backgrounds of, when he was in summer school this morning, they're even noticing the backgrounds of people's homes. It says a lot about you. So really taking a small space, and feel free to email me your spaces, and we can kind of like give you some, or we can post on some great little Etsy wall coverings and things that are affordable. But it's almost like setting like a theater stage and that setting a backdrop. Mine just came very organically because out of survival mode, I just launched my massive PC and brought it in and set it on my table. I feel so much better, and I'm so much more productive in this space because I just don't feel so isolated. And also I do, especially being just me with the voice here, I do need to kind of be in something open, and it's just reality right now. I'm using spaces in my home like I haven't in a decade. I have a hanging chair. There's a photo somewhere, but I have a hanging chair in my sunroom and a small table that the boys had outgrown that became the summer school space and became the reading space. And I have an oversized beanbag. I think they're called like a love sack, but I bought the off-brand, which is just as good. I bought it on Amazon, and it's amazing. We live in that thing. If you're off to the left, you can kind of see our little sunroom. We relocated so there's probably 3 times the plants in there now, but we relocated the big beanbag chair. But my boys are 10 and 11 sitting at that little table. I put an easel in there so they can prop up their iPad. I am currently using my cookbook page opener to kind of host my notes, which I haven't had to reference, thank goodness. But it's so funny how we are taking from different things and repurposing them to really to make our spaces functional right now. So this space here, the doors close off in the top right, these doors close off, and one son can be reading in a hanging chair. They live in that chair. It's been a really incredible investment. And the other, we put the easel up. He's got his iPad with his Zoom class going. So different spaces have become, different uses now more than ever.
One of the things as well is I was reading the other day, it's this work from home and when we do go back. So if you had to think, when we do these calls in the future, whether you're working from home, and it was an article was like, work from home is dead. It's now working from anywhere. And this is the latest emerging trend. We'll see. It's very early. Mm-hmm. But what are the 3 things that people should, or 4 things, or however many, that people should absolutely factor in when setting up a call, no matter where they are?
I think you need a space that's going to be quiet. I think for me, I'm doing the best I can with the situation I'm in. But if it's a coffee shop, and definitely earbuds if you're in a public space, get a space where you're not going to have a lot of distraction in the background. So if you're trying to Zoom with a client or you're trying to Zoom with someone, having people all in the background and moving around just probably makes it a little more difficult. And make sure they can see you. Make sure that you're engaging on a personal level with them. There's no point in a Zoom call with a client, especially a one-on-one, where you're not willing to get on the screen and kind of engage with them. And again, take this moment because for me, I'm just as much business development as I am a designer, and it's really important. And my clients to be 100% honest, there's a million designers that are all very talented that do a lot of the same things I do. What makes me and my team so different is our clients work with us because they like us, and there's a personal aspect to it. I know all of their kids' names. I know, and now they've been in my home. So kind of, I digress a bit, but just wherever you are, I think background, people moving around, it's really distracting when I'm trying to host a call with my team or with somebody and there's people moving around, and then, try and make it somewhat professional. You don't really want to be hanging out in your garden, walking around while you're doing it. Set a space where they really feel like they have your attention.
How much as well from on the aspect of design and how it can actually impact how you feel, how important do you think it is in regards to having that design and to make you feel confident, I suppose, or how it will affect you in different ways?
So I look at it as how you dress, and really, if I get up in the morning and I dress nice and I'm layered and I feel good and everything, my hair's clean and I'm wearing wedges, which I'm not sure I know how to wear heels anymore at the moment, but we'll figure that out later. But your home is very much reflective of how you feel. When your home is clean, when you that sense of accomplishment when you finish a room, or when you add that new piece of artwork, or when you've actually taken the time, which now is that time, to take various pieces and repurpose them. I think it's huge. I think it's amazing. And it doesn't have to cost a fortune. Again, 90% of my home is off the shelf. Things that I bought my sofa with the intent it would get me through a year and a half. The boys could tear it up, and then I would buy my beautiful designer white sofa. And here we are 5 years later. Sofa is torn up. We're ready for a new one. But I'm not going to have a space that I can't live in. I want boys to grow up feeling like they can run and have fun, and of course in a respectful way, but I don't want to be so stressed when I spill red wine on my white sofa or hot cocoa or whatever it is. So having a space that you can actually live in is, I think, so important. It's your sanctuary, and now more than ever. I mean, we're spending time, this is where we're all feeling the safest.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a really interesting query in from here, just in the chat. So Vandana, thank you very much. I'm going to share these now. So thank you for being brave. Beautiful spaces, by the way. But I'm just going to share.
No problem.
I'm going to share my screen. I'll let you ask the question, Vandana, actually. But let me just share the screen here, and then I can put the images side by side. Yeah. So, Vandana, what are we looking at?
So this is the view. If you were looking at me in my computer screen, that would be me sitting in the chair, kind of obviously that's the room, right? The TV's in the background, and then the door that leads out into the hallway. The other view is, and I think you'll just pop it up quickly, is the actual room itself. It's quite simple because it is just a spare bedroom, and it's easy for me to kind of escape and use this as my work from home room. But it needs some life. It's quite boring.
It's beautiful. So I'll start by telling you, way to go on the black doors, because the new house, that's one of my favorite things that I did, was painted all the doors in the house black. So I love that. I think it actually got, all of your pieces are really beautiful, and they're simple, and but I think if you were to add anything, it's that pop, that unexpected piece. Like, your rug is gorgeous, the chair is nice and neutral. You've created a really perfect backdrop. And now, and I hate to keep going back to this, but you could do it. And I don't know if this is your home or you're renting, but
no, it's my home.
Oh, great. Yeah, girl, invest in a really fun, bold pattern on that wall. And if you go to Luverne and you look at what Josh has done with some things, they blow me away with, you can even go to Home Depot, and they have those different paints that people have returned, which I don't know how you're able to return a paint can, but
yeah.
they're like $3 or $2 for a gallon of paint. And you just tape off different areas and do even like a block pattern there. and the sense of accomplishment you would get from creating something on this gorgeous white canvas would be
Right.
would be so amazing and make you feel so good.
Okay.
You could take go to consignment stores and buy a large or a garage sale or Craigslist. You know, they have those old photos that people, you know, $10, $15. Buy a huge old photo, take the photo out, or I mean, sorry, artwork. Take the and use the antique frame or use the frame there to a frame for your television.
Yeah, I've seen that done. I'm curious on how it works because the TV actually rotates. So if I'm sitting at my desk, I can actually rotate it towards me, but I would love to put something around it because I feel like maybe it would just turn into a piece of art in itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and you can even do that on top of whatever your art, whatever. But oh my gosh, all I see when I see a white wall is a really great opportunity in a canvas. And we've got, I know, and before we get off, Stephanie has, where we've actually taken, I have realized we have this. Stephanie, if you look at the Luverne, you can see, if we want to scroll back, I don't know how hard that is, but on the Luverne page, we did a restaurant that was more French inspired. And I personally love to collect door knockers. I don't have enough to actually hang a bunch on the wall, but I have them placed throughout my home, like on top of a stack of magazines or books. And so we took these door knockers and hung them all around the wall. And then we found these old pictures and took the art out and hung the frames just on the wall, straight on the wall. And you wouldn't
very cool.
moving. This frame would just be on your wall. So it wouldn't, I don't think it would impact moving your TV around.
Got it. Okay.
Is that
but
showing?
you-
Sorry, I think. Is
Sorry?
that showing the slide there, Kelly?
It was like 10:30, somewhere around the 10:32 slide. One of the other things we did, and it's pictured here too, is we found, this is the hotel referencing I'm talking about, is the Stoney Hotel. And it's an old, one of the oldest hotels in Dallas. And the designer that had come in and just finished it, I mean, and I'm not dogging on any other designers, it was really brand driven and wanted it to feel very mid-century, which this isn't a mid-century hotel. So our goal was to mix the mid-century that had just been done and bring the bones of this beautiful hotel and the soul of it back. So we had a French-inspired restaurant. We found these old photos from the hotel. We framed them in IKEA frames. So they're in these little black frames. And then we just basically took a gold Sharpie pen or marker and drew lines on them. Steph, were you able to see if...
yeah, flipping to one. So let me try that one more time.
And so it's a really, I mean, I think printing these photos was less than $50. The frames were less than 10 each. And the gold Sharpie pen wasn't, and what you could do too is bandana, is it bandana? I hope I got that right. Bandana?
You got it. It's bandana.
Bandana. Oh, so, and I'll show you this really quick. The top right here is kind of what I was referencing, where we took a canvas, had it printed, and you can have those printed on, I mean, Shutterfly, I believe. Sorry, I don't know where it went. And then you can just cut the canvas up the middle and create these strips, and you pin a couple of the strips up, and it creates a really, and you can print anything you want on canvas.
Oh, that's creative. Yeah.
We had old paintings at the Stoney, and of course we did our homework to make sure there was no value in them first, but they were just really dated old photos. And we took one, we filled it with old music pages that we bought on eBay for like $10, and spray painted them gold and let it drip down. So you see these, it was in a music room.
Oh, fun. Very fun.
Yeah, taking it, and just, I love going and buying vintage artwork for $30. And, you know, you just paint half of it, or, you know, there's a million different ways you can repurpose art for practically nothing. That's really cool. So if you go on the Luverne, I usually use the Luverne Instagram page as more of our kind of our portfolio when I'm even talking to clients, because they do so
Can
many.
you spell that for me?
Curation by Lou, Louverne.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Can you share the link We're just going to share the link as well, Kelly, because I've got some technical difficulties. So sorry.
Totally fine. Yeah, you guys can go on there, and there's a lot of really cool projects. And if you message us on there, Kylie's on this call, she'll get these to me. But oh, you can if you guys see, can you guys see now?
Can you all see that?
Perfect.
Yes.
So this is what I was talking about with the door knockers and just the empty frames, and then to the printing images on really inexpensive frames that cost next to nothing. You can get at Hobby Lobby. I mean, you can even get them at like a Walgreens or CVS if you really need to, with a gold Sharpie pen, creating patterns with those.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that.
And with yours too, Vandana, one more thing. So you could take and do almost like make that television a part of a gallery wall. And some of the artwork you don't know what to do with, just, you know, printing the gallery wall on there. And a friend of mine that's a designer, Andrew Alford, the one I referenced earlier for his Aztec wall covering, he went and just bought old floral paintings. So we went on Craigslist, eBay, and just did a really cool gallery wall of old dated floral paintings, which turned out super cool. If you want to look at that, it's at the Pontchartrain Hotel in New Orleans. It's really fun.
Nice.
What do you think what are some of the biggest trends at the moment, do you think, within the design world for everyone here?
Let's see. I mean, it's so hard just because, and especially what's going to be trending after this. I think priorities are going to be different. Trends are going to change. We're already really starting to kind of look at how design is going to be affected by what's going on now. And I think that connection with people is going to be more important than ever. As soon as we can get that back and hug people. And I think what I've done with my home is invested in my outdoor space. So if I spent the most I've spent on my home on one thing, on my patio outside, and I built a big patio. I put sofas and chairs and tables out there. I really created an entirely new room and added the square footage to my living space. So I really think bringing the outdoors in and investing in outdoor space is going to be a huge trend moving forward. Seeing that right now Dallas is open, so people can go to restaurants and do things. We're being a little more careful. I love to go sit on a patio. I just feel a bit better about it, and I think outdoor spaces are going to definitely be trending. Investing in that.
Yeah, that's great. Does anyone else have any final comments or anything that they want to ask before we wrap up? Or Kelly, if you've got any final comments as well, feel free.
No, this was really fun. I appreciate, and I thank you, Vandana, for interacting. That's really fun. And you know, want to end up going to have any questions or any advice or anything else we can follow up with, you know, follow up on one of our social media sites. Kylie runs those, and we'll get any questions to me that you have.
And also, just so obviously we have got a couple more days of Ellie Week. So now that you've all had Kelly's expertise on setting up a really cool Zoom call, you know, but perhaps we should do a part 2 on this actually, so everyone has a chance to do it, and then we can set up a friendly judging contest. A very, very quick question from Juan actually here is, what's your opinion regarding virtual backgrounds?
I personally love virtual backgrounds are great in a pinch. So I don't, there's no opposition to them, especially if you know, you're kind of stuck on what to do or you're in a temporary space. I think they're a great, you know, option for that. But I think, again, really being able to be vulnerable and showcasing your personal space, I think is always best. But yeah, the virtuals are good. I think they get kind of weird sometimes, and they may be cut off in weird places. I don't know.
Yeah, fair. If you're anything like us, we've had some fun things through the Ellie Digital series of merging into space, and sometimes looking like we're on fire in some cases. So I think we need to update our laptops on our end. We'll be speaking to Serge about that.
We're all updating our technical savviness here. I didn't even know what a Zoom was before this COVID, so but I did.
But no, thank you so much. And listen, I hope that you all got something from it, and you can spend some time sort of snazzing up your backgrounds or playing around with your space and lighting and so on. And yeah, please get in contact with us if you've got any questions or comments. I can put you in touch with Kelly and the team as well for anything addition. So do feel free to come to us on that. And then for later on in the week, tomorrow we have our buyer panel. So it's a tell-all. Let's find out, from the horse's mouth and straight from the source, what people are doing, where are they traveling, what are the questions that they have, and really just help each other through this. And it's another chance as well that you won't be required with video tomorrow, but the follow-up discussion is going to be in an interactive format like this. So be camera ready, set up your backgrounds. And yeah, last but not least, we've got some drinks, some virtual drinks. It's not South Beach, but it's the next best thing for everyone to sort of come along and do some networking with each other. So another opportunity to show off your backgrounds too. So any questions, let me know. And if you can't find the invite in your inbox, reach out to us as well. Thank you so much to everyone, and Kelly especially, thanks so much for your time and all the thought you sort of put into really helping people transform their Zoom backgrounds. So
thank you guys so much. We had a really good time. I'll also say we'll reference some of those, some of the things that we talked about today, some wall covering samples and things in our stories. So we'll kind of follow up with that if anybody wants to head over there and get some examples or has any questions.
Absolutely. And we'll see you in October. And Kelly, we'll see you in October as well, where you'll be. So
I'm excited to get out.
Absolutely. All right. See you all soon. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.